Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. This is Eisenherz and today we're going to have a look at how the new bans affected cEDH Urza lists. So let's go. Classic Urza lists revolved around a compact combo package, lots of interaction and of course the infamous asymmetrical Stax pieces. Unfortunately, in my personal experience, this version of Urza, be it the Power Scepter or the Polykraken version, struggled in tournaments for multiple reasons. 1. Monocolor has limited card options. 2. Staxing mana production through artifacts and enchantments proved to be extremely inefficient when you are simultaneously feeding Dockside like no other deck. 3. Control and Stax struggle in strictly timed tournament rounds. And 4. People play very badly into Stax. So in order to combat these downsides, I personally shifted to a Staxless, very mid-rangey version of Urza with multiple layered combos. So this is what the deck looked like right before the bans. As you can see, there are lots of clones, multiple specific Dockside answers, no Stax pieces, and of course many layered combos. The new bans, however, drastically affected Urza in positive and negative ways. We lost Mana Crypt, which helped to ramp into Urza and was an important piece in Hullbreaker and Dramatic Reversal loops. We also lost Jeweled Lotus, which was our main way to hit the 4 mana threshold to ramp Urza out as early as turn 1. And of course we lost Dockside, which invalidated our Stax package, forced us to play multiple specific answers for it, but at the same time was our main copy target with our multiple clone effects. So how do we go from here? Well, we start by removing the banned cards from our deck lists as well as the cards that revolve around them, like our aforementioned Dockside specific counterspells and our Dockside clones. Now that we have room to brew again, we need to find a solution to our first problem: hitting the 4 mana threshold as fast as possible so that we can deploy Urza ahead of curve. In order to do that, we can play multiple non-stable mana rocks like Copy Artifact, Price Statue, Everflowing Chalice, or even Gold Pen, Mindstone and Thought Vessel. Anything really that can help us ramp into Urza and ideally produce blue mana, and maybe even pull some weight when Urza is already in play. So with these mana rocks, problem 1 is solved. Next up, we add some better, cheap counterspells that help us combat turbo decks. So I'm thinking spells like Spell Pierce, Miscast, or even Daze. These should help us combat the turbo decks and help us find into the mid game. And with that, problem 2 is also solved. So now that we have arrived at the mid game and have our commander in play, and now that Dockside isn't an issue anymore, we can play much more aggressively onto the board. So cheap artifacts like Urza's Bauble, Mishra's Bauble, Tormod's Crypt and Welding Jar become much more playable again. Keep in mind that at their worst, these cards are Mox Sapphires, and ideally they all provide some other kind of value. We can now go back to creating these absurdly large board states with tons of mana, where a single draw engine will put us into a position to either counter our opponent's spells or combo off from multiple different angles. I personally didn't add any new combos to the deck that are worth mentioning, except for maybe Battered Golem as a replacement for Displacer Kitten, because the Golem can replace the Kitten in some combos, is cheaper to cast, tutorable, and also combos off with Banishing Neck and Retraction Helix, which layers very well with Valley Floodcaller. And that's my current mid-range version of Urza. The link is of course down below, but keep in mind that the deck is still evolving and adapting to the new meta, as I'm still testing some of the new cards. If, however, instead of going into the mid-rangey direction, we look back at why our classic mana denial Stax pieces struggled so much, we can conclude that without Dockside, a more classic Urza Stax or control list can be really strong again. Cards like Gravedigger's Cage, Pithing Needle, Winter Orb, Static Orb, Trinisphere, Back to Basics, and new cards like Winter Moon or Harbinger of the Seas should be implemented in this version of Urza. You play much slower with a reduced combo package, but can combo off way more safely in the mid to late game, after stopping your opponents from doing pretty much anything by starving them of resources and denying their value engines like Thrasios or Kinnan. A link to that version of Urza will also be in the description box. So in conclusion, Urza wins some and loses some, but most importantly becomes way more interesting again. Both deck lists, the mid-range and the Stax one, should give you a good starting point on how to play Urza in post-ban cEDH 2024. And that's it. Do you think these bans and changes will help Urza or make it worse in the new meta? As always, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, share, comment and subscribe. This is Eisenherz and auf Wiedersehen.